I know about computers. Like, I watched the show Catfish. Like, I know, like, usually what to look for when you see a fake profile. Like, I should have seen it. It was, like, only Snapchat.
We've all probably watched an episode of Catfish and said to ourselves, how did they not know? But even fan of the show Tyrae didn't know that he was being tricked for 4 whole years by a man.
Sure, it's okay.
I'm Christian.
Christian, okay.
This is pretty shocking, and I guess there's no right way to react to this. I mean, there's no playbook for how you react when you hear the real voice, the manly voice of someone who you thought for 4 years was a lady who loved you. But before we get to the voice recording, let's go back to when the producers in the last episode broke the news to Tyrae. The woman he thought he's been in a relationship with is actually a man who's been catfishing him.
The person you've been messaging with is a man named Christian. Or they tell us that their name is Christian.
4 years. 4 years of chatting to one another every single day and building seemingly a really intimate relationship, only for it to all suddenly come crashing down for Tyrae. This really does seem more like a crossover episode of MTV's Catfish than it does 90 Day Fiance. And it's no doubt that Tyrae is in absolute shock. The poor guy's really struggling to process what he's just learned.
It's embarrassing, like...
Now, Tyrae already suffers from self-esteem issues because of his weight. He's 33 years old and he's never been intimate with a lady before.
Afraid to put myself out there because of rejection. So it's really embarrassing to admit I'm like 33 years old and still a virgin.
As a full-time carer for his sick mum, he puts looking after her over looking after himself, going as far as to say his best friend is chocolate, which is really sad.
Food became a real comfort for me, especially like chocolate. I love chocolate, so that's like my best friend.
But his relationship with Carmella really felt like an escape from reality for him. But all of their communication was on Snapchat and they never had a single video call. I'm sorry to say it, but the clues were definitely there. It's just that Tyrae chose to ignore them.
I know about computers. Like, I watched the show Catfish. Like, I know, like, usually what to look for when you see a fake profile. Like, I should have seen it. It was, like, only Snapchat.
Tyrae reveals that their chats weren't just superficial, they'd actually got really close, or so he thought. Christian, whatever their name is, was really there for Tyrae as a support system, especially around the time that Tyrae's mum had a stroke and he became her full-time carer. Now, this isn't the work of a teenage prankster catfishing for fun. But was there anything actually real there? Or was this purely just a scam?
Carmella initially asked me for money back in 2019, and I said no. Until March 2020, she messaged me. That's when I kind of like let my guard down and sent her something.
Oh, Tyrae, no. He's been sending her between $50 and $100 every single month. I mean, he's only got himself to blame, hasn't he? It seems like his own insecurity and desperation to be loved had Tyrae ignoring every single alarm bell that was going off in his head. But the thing is, even after finding out the truth, it becomes obvious that Tyrae still isn't ready to accept that all is lost. He shares with us the messages he sent Carmella.
You know, I told her you lied to me, you tricked me. And I put, babe, how could you? They told me that you were a man.
Has she read it?
Nope, it's not even opened.
Tell me something. Why is Tyrae still calling them babe? Did he sit there, compose the message, read it back to himself, and still think, yep, I'm gonna send that? It's sad. I actually really feel bad for Tyrae because he's obviously a good person. He seems like someone who's been through a lot in life. Like, he shares how his dad was murdered at a young age and the impact that had on him. But even with that in mind, I'm sorry, this behaviour is kind of pathetic. Texting, babe, how could you, to someone who's lied to you about who they are for 4 years, whilst happily taking your money, even while knowing that you're struggling financially yourself. I mean, that's just sad, isn't it? It just further reinforces the fact that this is a guy who's very lonely and severely lacking any confidence.
I know the person that the picture is real, but like, I had connection with the actual person, so I still feel that connection.
Tyrae is still in denial. He's living in hope that it's all a big misunderstanding and that someone's just gonna jump out and yell, "Gotcha!" But sadly, that's not gonna happen. I can't help but think ahead and wonder where this is going. How are they going to drag out this story for an entire season? In the last episode, the producers gave Tyrae the option to drop out of the show. They promised him they wouldn't air the footage if he didn't want them to. Yet, here we are watching. So, what does that mean? Either it means Tyrae doesn't mind that it's a man, he might still be open to that, or this Carmella character actually exists. Maybe Christian is her boyfriend or her brother or something. Maybe this is their way of making some money. I don't know, I guess time will tell. But let's see how Tyrae is feeling in the light of day.
And I kind of need someone to have support right now. So today I'm gonna rip off the Band-Aid and I'm gonna tell Ronald and LaShanti and my siblings about Carmella.
Yeah, I think that's for the best, Tyrae. Your decision-making skills seem a bit fuzzy when it comes to Carmella. Just the act of speaking about it to his loved ones might be exactly the step he needs to take to actually accept it. Hopefully, that will help him come to terms with the shame and the embarrassment he's currently feeling.
My brother's a good person. He has a big heart, but we worry about him because he holds everything in. He never lets anybody know what's going on in his life at all.
Now, we're told that since his dad died, Tyrae keeps his cards close to his chest, and it seems like that's been to his detriment. If only he'd opened up to his brother and sister sooner, they'd have helped him to see this situation for what it really was. Like, there's no doubt that they'd have sat him down and helped him to see what we can all see so clearly. Just look at the surprised look on their faces when he first confesses that he's been in a secret international relationship for 4 years.
You know, when I went to Barbados last year.
That's what you went for?
Like, I went to Barbados and then she never showed up.
Oh no, it gets worse. It's just yet another red flag that he can keep on adding to the mountain of red flags he's been hiding for all these years. It's almost starting to feel like, deep down, Tyrae knew that this wasn't real. Maybe that's the real reason why he kept the relationship secret. Because as he vocalizes it out loud, it sounds absolutely ridiculous that he didn't know.
I was heartbroken, like, traveling 4,000 miles for someone and they don't show up. It was hurtful, especially leaving my mom.
You organised a trip with her consent. You scraped together money that we know you don't have. You had to leave your sick mum behind. You travelled during COVID. You had to quarantine. But yet, after all of that, she just completely ghosted you. So what happened next? Did you go home and then continue to date her for another year? Tyrae, come on, grow a backbone. It's no wonder that his brother and sister are clearly as shocked as I am.
How come you didn't push your issue more? Why was you so, docile?
Because I was in love and I didn't want to, push her away.
All this says to me is Tyrae is a guy with extremely low self-esteem. Deep down, he must believe that he'll never find someone else, never find someone who'll love him in the same way that Carmella claims to. That's why he's willing to be treated badly. He's willing to be walked all over, just as long as she doesn't leave him. But up until this point, Tyrae still hasn't told his siblings the worst part of the story.
It was actually a man that was pretending to be Carmella.
Huh?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. That is sick.
Yeah, it is sick. Tyrae needs to hear how wrong this situation is. How he's the one that's the victim. He might feel embarrassed, and sure, he has to take some responsibility, but it seems like his biggest fault was being too trusting. He is a victim. He was manipulated. He was taken advantage of by some unknown character for financial gain. That's fraud. Now, earlier in the episode, the producers revealed that they had a recording from this unknown character, Carmella, Christian, whoever it is. At the time, Tyrae didn't want to hear that recording. But what about now?
And they have like a recording or something. They wanted to play it, but I didn't want to hear it right now.
I think you should hear it. You have to know what's going on so you have some closure.
Yeah, this is exactly why bringing his brother and sister into the loop was such a good idea. They're here to support him. They're here to remind him that he's not all alone, even though he might feel like that. Hearing Christian's voice might be exactly what he needs to jerk back into reality, to truly realise that Carmella doesn't exist. But even with his brother and sister holding his hand, Tyrae can't stand hearing the truth.
Sure, it's okay.
I'm Christian.
Christian, okay.
Tyrae has such a physical response to hearing Christian's actual voice that it's obvious he's far from okay. From what we're seeing right now, he's not ready to accept that the love he's poured into the relationship for so long was all for nothing.